weight loss at the instant of death. Well, it was more like an urban legend or a suburban legend. I don't know. But nobody really knew until the other day when I received from a physician in the audience. Thank God for the width and breadth of this audience, because somebody out there always keeps something. Dr. W.E. Fair, physician, simply sent me a short note, said, Art, here it is, the original article on the weight loss at death you mentioned on Dreamland last Sunday. Sure enough, folks, from American Medicine, Complete Series, Volume 8, published in 1907, an article by Duncan McDougall, MD of Haverhill, Massachusetts, entitled Hypothesis Concerning Soul Substance, together with experimental evidence of the existence of such substance. Now, there's quite a preamble, which I am not going to read. The entire medical study that looks at, I believe, 6 different human subjects who died is there. He also looked at 60 or 70 dogs at the instant of death and found no weight change. That's also in there. But each case history is documented, and I thought I would read. I can't afford to read all 4 pages. That's on the website. I want you to look. Raymond Moody is going to be my guest on Dreamland this coming Sunday. But just let me read you a little bit of page 2. My first subject was a man dying of tuberculosis. It seemed to me best to select a patient dying with a disease that produces great exhaustion, the death occurring with little or no muscular movement, because in such a case, the beam, that's a weight beam, could be kept more perfectly at balance, and any loss occurring readily noted. The patient was under observation for 3 hours and 40 minutes before death, lying on a bed arranged on a light framework built upon very delicately balanced platform beam scales. Beam scales, folks. The patient's comfort was looked after in every way, although he was practically moribund when placed upon the bed. He lost weight slowly at the rate of 1 ounce per hour due to evaporation of moisture in respiration and evaporation of sweat. During all 3 hours and 40 minutes, I kept the beam end slightly above balance near the upper limiting bar in order to make the test more decisive if it should come. At the end of 3 hours and 40 minutes, he expired, and suddenly coincident with death, the beam end dropped with an audible stroke, hitting against the lower limiting bar and remaining there with no rebound. The loss was ascertained to be 3/4 of an ounce at the precise moment of death. This loss of weight could not be due to evaporation or respiratory moisture and sweat, because that had already been determined to go on, in his case, at the rate of 1/16 of an ounce per minute, whereas this loss was sudden and large, 3/4 of an ounce in a few seconds. The bowels did not move, and if they had, the weight would have remained upon the bed, except for the slow loss by evaporation of moisture, depending, of course, upon the fluidity of the feces. The bladder evacuated 1 or 2 drams of urine. This remained upon the bed and could only have influenced the weight by slow, gradual evaporation, and therefore in no way could account for the sudden loss. There remained but one more channel of loss to explore: the expiration of all residual air in the lungs. Getting upon the bed myself, my colleague put the beam at actual balance. Inspiration and expiration of air as forcibly as possible by me had no effect upon beam. My colleague got upon the bed and I placed the beam at balance. Forcible respiration, expiration of air on his part had no effect. In this case, we certainly have an inexplicable loss of weight of 3/4 of an ounce. Is it the sole substance? How shall we otherwise explain it? Then he goes into his second patient and so forth and so on with the others. But I wanted to give you a little sense of a little bit of this article. It is quite comprehensive. It was done in 1907. And I've got several questions about it. Number one, I'm very glad to have found it, needless to say. Number two, I'm very glad to be able to share it with you and the world. You can get the entire article, read the entire article, on my website now, www.artbell.com. www.artbell.com. I want to thank Keith and everybody who had anything to do with getting the article quickly typed in and prepared to go up on the website. I particularly would like you to read it before Dr. Moody joins us this week on Dreamland. So, you have that up there. Next item. And I'm going to slaughter the name of the town, and I'm sorry. Military officials have taken possession of a metal sphere that was found in the middle of a South Texas field. The deputy there said Friday night that officials from Randolph Air Force Base in Ohio confiscated the object, which is about 2.5 feet in diameter, scorched and pitted on one side with what appears to be the remains of a valve. It's really weird, whatever it is. I have no idea. And of course, since the Air Force came and took it away, we'll now probably never know. But, and I understand the name of the town is Seguin. Is that correct? Seguin, Texas? That's where Walt Andrus is, and Walt Andrus apparently got out to see it. He is the founder, I believe, of MUFON. And somehow we got a photograph of this round space ball, object, whatever you want to call it. So it's up on the website, Spaceball. And there was an AP article. Now, what this is, I have no idea. And as I said, the Air Force quickly came and took it away. So all we've got is the photograph. Go take a look. You tell me. I have no idea. Here's another one. To Art. We would like to pass on to you the occurrence of a bright flash of light, followed by smoke, seen from much of Kansas and parts of southern Nebraska at about 5:45 Central Time, 1/27/95. This occurrence was reported by eyewitnesses and picked up on radar by the National Weather Service. There were also unofficial reports about debris landing somewhere near Omaha, Nebraska. CBS affiliate KWCH in Wichita has got film footage of smoke plumes after the explosion occurred. The only confirmation that has been made is that it was not caused by aircraft or satellite. We're just curious, and I'm sure you are too. Please let us know if you've got anything on this. Dwayne and Cindy from North Newton, Kansas. So, We've got a space ball coming down in Texas. We don't know what it is. The Air Force has grabbed it. We've got something that has come down in southern Nebraska and Kansas. We have no idea what that is. And we've got a major story up there for you on the apparent existence of something called a soul substance. By all means, please read that article. If you get an opportunity, print it out, share it with other people. It's something that I've been looking for literally for years now. And I'm so happy to have found it. Otherwise, very little news. Sunday on Meet the Press, our new Secretary of State, a woman, Madeleine Albright, and by the way, a woman I consider to be quite competent, did an interview, and I thought she did very well. She's going to have a number of immediate challenges, not the least of which is China. In July, sadly, Hong Kong is going to revert to China, communist China. And when I was in Hong Kong, a lot of people were very nervous and getting ready to get out. A lot of them had. Last week, their nervousness apparently was shown to have cause. China indicated a big crackdown on civil liberties in Hong Kong is coming. Press freedoms, the internet, personal freedoms. It will be the death of a capitalist jewel. Hong Kong is beautiful. I mourn for Hong Kong. What's about to happen. So Madeleine Albright's going to have to deal with that. And they were asking her, well, are you going to demand that China not crack down? Well, how's she going to demand that? Can't demand anything with regard to China. They're going to do what they're going to do, and Hong Kong is going to go back, and how sad it's going to be. What a vibrant, alive, wonderful place Hong Kong is, hustling and bustling and full of capitalism and happy people. The contrast to that, communist China, which I went up into, with sad, scared people whose eyes barely leave the ground. It really is, as you imagine, it might be awful. And will that now occur to Hong Kong? I fear so. Can Madeleine Albright do anything about it? No. Then there's Cuba. And we've got a lot of listeners up in Canada. So I thought it might be interesting this morning. As you know, the U.S. is not changing its mind with respect to Cuba. We are going to continue to keep it on the persona non grata list of the U.S. Visas given for people to travel. No trade, nothing to do with the bearded one. Canada, on the other hand, just opened up relations with Cuba. The rest of the world has opened relations with Cuba. And I wonder how the Canadians feel about it. And I wonder how you feel about it. Should we open a relationship with Cuba? Or should we continue our hard line? And I wonder what the Canadian listeners think. In other words, your country is opening up a dialogue and trade and tourist trade with Cuba. Do you think the U.S. is, I'm not sure what the right word for our reaction would be. I'll think of one. How do you feel about the way we treat Cuba? Right or wrong? And one other item, Boris Yeltsin, bypass surgery, double pneumonia, elected 7 months ago. He spent only 2 weeks thus far in office. There is a change a-coming. The parliament there, the Duma, considered impeaching Boris last week. Meanwhile, NATO expansion continues to threaten the hardliners in Russia. And I wonder how confident you are that when that change comes, it's going to be one we are happy about. I suspect exactly the opposite. Anyway, when we come back, open lines, anything you want to talk about, get up to my webpage. Boy, stuff interesting.
You're listening to Art Bell, Somewhere in Time. Tonight, featuring a replay of Coast to Coast AM from January 27th, 1997. You're listening to Art Bell, Somewhere in Time. Tonight, featuring a replay of Coast to Coast AM from January 27th, 1997.
I'm already getting faxes on this story. Art, the weight loss at death may not represent the weight of the soul, which may be too empirical to detect in this manner, but rather the weight of the astral body. Would that be energy too? Or maybe the astral body combined with the other even higher dimensional bodies that many traditions speak of. But would they be energy too? I'm saying adding that. These would include the mental body, the emotional body, the causal body, and so on. I would guess that each higher dimensional body would register vanishingly small amounts of weight in the gross physical world as one traversed the increasingly subtle dimensional levels that each successive subtle body type occupies. Boy, I don't know. Look, folks, I'm just a talk show host. I was absolutely elated to finally find this study that had been rumored for years and to find out that it was real. I wonder, why hasn't there been more done since? Maybe there has, but I certainly don't know about it. Would it be just simply too politically incorrect to do something of that sort? I don't know. I just don't have those answers. And one more little note, Art. It is warming up here in South Dakota finally. Chill tonight is only 50 below zero. South Dakota has lost 30,000 head of livestock this winter alone due to the cold and snow. Bad news for the farmers, but it ought to mean cheaper dog and cat food prices. Still shivering in South Dakota, but still listening. So there you have it. And I've got more, and I'll kind of drop it in as we go. A lot of stuff in the paranormal category, things blasting through the atmosphere to Earth in a couple of locations. The death of a satellite, and I've got more on that too. Telstar 401, which was a good, healthy satellite, suddenly stopped. What do you think might cause that? I'll read you a press release on that. West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hi.
Hi, Art. My name is Dan. I'm calling from Long Beach.
Hi, Dan.
I was wondering with your last guest if there was any similarities and differences between Hindu and Christianity and Buddhism.
Well, he addressed that, and the answer basically was no. In people he interviewed, they all had roughly the same experience. that did not relate to their religion. That's what he said.
I remember at one time Gandhi, who was a hardened Hindu, that noticed that when some of these soldiers who quote unquote call themselves Christians,
Yes.
and that they came at him, and he told them that he liked that what Jesus had said, and he asked them, "Why don't you people acting like Christians, acting like more like Christ instead of just go around threatening people like this, or something to that effect?"
Well, religions are strange. Organized religions are. I just don't know what to say about it.
Well, I'm kind of stuck on it too, so you're not the only one.
All right. Thank you very much for the call. Here's another one. USAF Hercules went down in a UFO hot zone. At 7:30 p.m. on Friday, November 22nd, U.S. Air Force Reserve CH-130 Hercules crashed 60 miles west of the Northern California coast, killing all but one member of its 11-man crew. The 4-engined turboprop plane of the 304th Rescue Squadron was on a routine training mission from its base in Portland, Oregon, to San Diego. The Hercules went down shortly after one turboprop engine mysteriously failed, then a second engine shut down, then the plane suffered a complete electrical failure. What, however, went unreported in the mainstream media was the 2-year-old UFO flap that has taken place in that exact area. According to a report of Vanessa Blackburn, during the last year and a half, Humboldt and Del Norte County residents have reported multiple UFO sightings, and some of those reports are from more than 50 people at one time. Now, Telstar 401 missing from orbit. Scientists at AT&T are still scratching their heads, wondering what might have occurred to their multi-million-dollar geosynchronous communication satellite, Telstar 401, that disappeared from its Earth orbit early Saturday. No signs, I repeat, no signs of impending problems were detected. All circuits were functioning normally, and suddenly all signals coming from the bird simply stopped. The North American Air Defense Command, located in Colorado Springs, Colorado, did report a large unknown object near the position of Telstar 401 just moments before the satellite quit working. Quote, "It looked like a large meteor closing in on 401, said NORAD Commander Major General John Yancey Jr. However, on the next sweep of the tracking radar, there was nothing there. No meteor, no satellite, no debris. We don't know what happened." Now there's one for you. A big television communication satellite, gone. Just gone. West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Hi, this is Derek calling from Reno.
Yes, sir.
It is Seguin, Texas,
Seguin, all right?
and I used to be a subscriber to the MUFON magazine, and it was I guess they're based in Seguin, Texas.
Man, you ought to see this thing. Now, there are some people say it came from a tank, some kind of a tank or something.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make sense. It's perfectly round. If you look at it, you will see that it was definitely burned in apparent reentry, not blown from some other location. And then, if it was part of some sort of tank with a valve or something, why would the Air Force come and scoop it up?
Yeah.
You betcha.
What kind of a valve, brother?
I don't know, and it's not shown in the only photograph we've got. What I've got is up on the website right now, if you get a chance to go up and look.
Art,
Yes.
I have a host suggestion, not a host, but a guest
Yes,
suggestion for you. I guess Laura Lee is the lady that does the show on Saturdays.
Has a show on the paranormal very much like mine, yes.
Yeah. For some reason, I was under the impression that Uri Geller was dead.
No.
I didn't know where I got that idea, but I've read some of his books from quite a while ago, actually, and I caught just the very end of the show that she had him on.
Uh-huh.
Have you ever had Yuri on?
Long ago, I think I did, but it's a good idea. And I'll consider having...
I think it would be a really good part because that man, there's a lot of other things. He doesn't just bend spoons. I mean, he was talking a little bit about UFOs also at the end of our show, that he had seen several UFOs that they played some part in his life story and whatnot.
All right, well, I appreciate the suggestion, and I will consider having Ari on again. No problem. Yeah, you take a look at that ball and see what you think. It's a good thing we've got a photograph of it and that somebody got it. I by the way, I don't know who. It was sent by somebody in the audience. Thank you, whoever you are. I think there is some credit given up there on the website. But if they had not, somebody hadn't got there with a camera. Obviously, before the Air Force did, we would have no such photograph, and it would be only a story. Wildcard line, no, international line, you're on the air. Hello.
Good morning, Mr. Bell.
Hi there.
This is Dana calling from Edmonton, Alberta, in the northern frozen tundra.
Well, welcome.
Anyhow, I have three things I'd like to mention. One, have you heard about an astronomer? He's discovered a new planet. It sounded like it was within the asteroid belt.
No?
Yeah, I just heard that today. I didn't hear. I just heard a little news clip on it. Isn't that intriguing?
Well, it is.
Listening to Richard Hoagland on the 20th of December.
Yes.
That was very interesting. Anyhow, the other two things is that referring to Mr. Yeltsin, I don't know how things work in the United States. Let's say Bill Clinton took gravely ill
Okay.
and was really in a similar situation that Boris Yeltsin was in.